Austin apparently pushes Karmelo in an attempt to get Karmelo to move along. At this point, Karmelo retrieves a knife and stabs Austin. Now, we know that this confrontation was caught on video that was captured by the press box camera at the stadium.
The headlines broke just after sunrise. Federal investigators have reportedly uncovered a new lead in the ongoing probe surrounding Karmelo Anthony's parents. According to sources close to the case, documents obtained through a series of sealed subpoenas suggest that the $30 million sale of their sprawling mansion may not have been an ordinary real estate transaction. Instead, investigators believe the buyer could have been a facilitator, acting as a middleman to discreetly transfer funds. The alleged connection to this secret buyer has now become a central point in the investigation, raising fresh questions about why the sale was completed so quickly and at full asking price, mere weeks after the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf, for which Karmelo himself remains the primary suspect. This new development has added yet another layer to an already complex case, pushing it deeper into the realm of financial misconduct and potential criminal conspiracy. According to leaked financial summaries reviewed by federal analysts, the buyer's identity was intentionally concealed through a chain of limited liability companies, each registered in different states and fronted by unrelated individuals. Investigators suspect this structure was designed to make tracing the origin of the funds nearly impossible without federal subpoena power. One LLC in the chain was linked to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, raising the possibility that international laundering could be at play. What stands out most is that the funds for the purchase, a lump sum of $30 million wired within 48 hours, bypassed conventional mortgage or escrow channels entirely. Instead, the payment appears to have been funneled directly into an account controlled by an associate with close personal ties to the Anthony family. These transactions, now under forensic review, could be critical in determining whether the property sale was part of a wider attempt to move or hide assets ahead of looming legal action. Federal agents are now scrutinizing phone records, encrypted message logs, and even burner devices allegedly used by the Anthonys in the weeks leading up to the sale. According to a source familiar with the investigation, surveillance footage from a luxury brokerage's private parking lot shows a brief, unannounced meeting between the buyer's representative and Karmelo's father just days before the deal closed. No paperwork was exchanged on camera, but both men were seen leaving with separate briefcases. Investigators believe these off-the-record exchanges could hold the key to understanding how the deal was structured so quickly and with so little traceable documentation. The secrecy surrounding the transaction has led some within law enforcement to suspect that the sale was not merely a financial maneuver, but part of a calculated strategy to shield assets from potential seizure in the ongoing Metcalf murder case. What makes this connection even more suspicious is the identity of the so-called secret buyer. According to leaked escrow documents obtained by investigative journalists, the buyer's name is tied to an offshore trust registered in the Cayman Islands, a jurisdiction long known for shielding the identities of high-net-worth individuals. While the trust itself appears legitimate on paper, financial analysts point out that the timeline of its activity raises red flags. The trust was dormant for nearly 5 years, then suddenly received a $2.4 million cash infusion just 1 week before the mansion purchase. Authorities are now trying to determine whether this offshore entity is truly independent, or if it's acting as a proxy for someone closer to the Anthonys, potentially even a family associate or silent partner. The implications of such a connection could open the door to charges far beyond simple fraud, possibly extending into conspiracy or money laundering tied to the fallout of Austin Metcalf's murder. Federal agents are also zeroing in on the financial trail surrounding that $2.4 million transfer. Bank compliance officers flagged the movement as high risk due to its layered routing through multiple international accounts in under 48 hours, a tactic often used to obscure the source of funds. Investigators believe the money may have originated from a domestic shell company tied to a known associate of the Anthonys, someone who has previously been implicated in fraud schemes across state lines. If confirmed, this would mean the secret buyer wasn't just a random wealthy investor, but a carefully selected figure positioned to mask the true origins of the mansion's purchase money. While the Anthony family's legal team continues to deny any wrongdoing, the mounting evidence has prompted federal prosecutors to quietly prepare subpoenas for both financial records and communications, including text messages and encrypted app exchanges that could reveal coordination behind the scenes. You said, adding to the intrigue, property records obtained by investigative journalists show that the mansion's deed changed hands twice within a span of just 3 weeks, a highly unusual sequence for a high-value real estate deal. The first transfer was from the Anthonys to the secret buyer, and the second was to an offshore holding company registered in the Cayman Islands. Experts in white-collar crime note that this rapid, multi-step transfer is a classic move in money laundering operations, designed to complicate ownership tracking and shield the final beneficiary from scrutiny. Federal agents are now working alongside international banking authorities to trace the funds beyond U.S. borders. The unusual speed of these transactions, combined with the hidden ownership structure, has raised suspicions that the $30 million deal wasn't simply a cash-out, but part of a broader scheme to conceal assets at a time when the family was already under intense legal pressure. For now, the mansion stands empty, its lights off and gates locked, while federal investigators comb through financial trails that could link the sale directly to the events surrounding Austin Metcalf's death. Sources say the FBI has already subpoenaed emails, phone records, and any communications between the Anthonys and the secret buyer. Prosecutors are reportedly weighing whether to fold these findings into the existing murder case, which could open the door to additional charges such as wire fraud, conspiracy, or obstruction of justice. As the legal noose tightens, questions swirl over whether the sale was an act of desperation, a strategic move, or both. One thing is clear: each new revelation is drawing the Anthonys deeper into a federal case that shows no sign of slowing down. But we're actively moving money, making calls, and establishing digital insulation. But the defense isn't backing down. They argue that the footage proves nothing illegal and say the man in question was hired for private security purposes after threats were made toward the family. This is a grieving family being dragged through digital mud, the attorney snapped during cross-examination. Still, the public isn't convinced. Twitter exploded overnight with side-by-side screenshots of the footage and a chart showing the 100K transaction flow. One post simply reads, "This was never random." And for many following this case closely, the idea that Karmelo acted alone is now almost unthinkable. The Metcalfs left court early that day. No statement, no eye contact, just quiet resolve as a case that once seemed like a closed-book tragedy begins unraveling into something far darker and more deliberate. You sit with your eyes glued to the courtroom sketch artist's feed, watching as a new piece of the puzzle is dragged into the light, a series of encrypted texts recovered from a recently seized phone belonging to Karmelo's father. According to forensic experts, the messages were sent through a secure messaging app just 36 hours before Austin Metcalf's death. One of them reads chillingly, "Funds cleared, no trail." Another, "Everything happens fast, you just stay calm." These aren't the kinds of texts you expect from a grieving parent or someone worried about their son's legal future. These are the words of someone trying to manage logistics under pressure, calculated, emotionless, and most disturbingly, time-stamped in a perfect storm of proximity to the murder. The FBI's Digital Crime Unit testified that the $100,000 transaction was not only split between two untraceable accounts, but was also immediately rerouted to an individual whose identity remains sealed under protective order. Rumors suggest this individual was close to the scene that night, possibly in the parking lot near the track meet. At this point, the prosecution's theory has evolved. This wasn't just a parental cover-up. They now believe this was a coordinated operation to clean up a situation before it exploded publicly. They allege Karmelo may have been baited into the act, and that the parents were fully prepared to financially and legally cushion the blow. Outside the courtroom, a small protest forms. Half Metcalf supporters, half Anthony loyalists. What was once a clear case of teen violence is rapidly unraveling into something more layered and sinister. A possible murder for hire, buried beneath layers of burner phones, financial misdirection, and cryptic digital breadcrumbs.